So I know a lot of people have been saying that every SCP animation channel is bad and that I shouldn't watch them. I don't know why, so I guess we're gonna find out with this one. But yeah, this is the first animation that I'm watching for it. Gotta know why something is bad to know it's bad. That sounded like Twitter. Wow. No, but for real, right? Like, no one tells me why it's bad. They're just like, don't watch animated stuff. Animated stuff is bad. I'm like, can you tell me why? So yeah, I'm just gonna watch it, see for myself, see how I feel about it, you know, the usual. But if you are on YouTube and you are watching this, don't lynch me, please, okay? I just want to know.
Occult Coalition, better known the Global Occult Coalition, better known as the GOC, are a group of bloodthirsty, gun-toting cowboys who shoot first and ask questions later. Whether it's a helpful sentient chair or a little girl whose only anomalous quality is manifesting flowers and ice cream, the GOC have only one response: destroy, burn it, crush it, shoot it in the face with extreme prejudice, and be home in time for dinner. Or at least that's what plenty of SCP Foundation devotees would have you believe. But if we only judged an organization by the words of its greatest opponents, we'd be dealing with an extremely one-sided picture. Are they?
What do you mean? Aren't we supposed to be dealing with only one-sided information? And that's how we're supposed to draw all conclusions? That's what Twitter told me.
Gun-ho morons who regularly blunder into complex situations and make everything worse with either plain ignorance or outright malice? Or are they humanity's true defenders, working on behalf of the world's democratically elected leaders rather than the uncountable mystery of the Foundation? As with most things in life.
You know, the second question doesn't make it any better. I'm like,
Life. The answer is often found somewhere in the middle. That's why today, we're going to take a closer look at the United Nations' answer to the anomalous threats that inhabit our world. Who are they?
Okay.
What do they believe? And what are some of their greatest victories and failures? The inception of what we now know as the Global Occult Coalition began during the 7th Occult War, which occurred during World War II. The Nazi SS Achnerbe and the Tüdelgesellschaft attempted to complete a ritual known as the Rite of Solomon, which would have given them terrifying supernatural power. This was the first time that a number of world governments understood the true scope of the paranormal threat out there. And after the war concluded, with many dead, they wanted to make sure this could never happen again. Of course, the SCP Foundation works in cooperation with all world governments, but ultimately they still have autonomy, and no one nation could ever shoulder the responsibility of protecting all of humanity either.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because, like, if you give nations the ability to, like, decide what happens with something, they're gonna try and spin it in a way that's favorable for them. Like, it makes sense not to give them that power.
Lest nationalism and self-interest get in the way of the mission. The United Nations needed their own organization that was completely accountable to them and them alone in order to protect themselves from paranormal threats, or parathreats, and thus the Global Occult Coalition was born. As the coalition part of the name suggests, the GOC is an umbrella term for 108 different paranormal organizations, all gathered under the shared goal of protecting humanity from parathreats and fostering continued positive relationships between paranormal groups.
That sounds like a disaster.
But are in no way limited to the Bavarian Illuminati, the International Center for the Study of Unified Thaumatology, the Reformed Holy Order of the Knights Templar, Servants of the Silicon Norn, the United Church of Satan.
The United Church of Satan Science Division. Excuse me, what? I gotta know more about them. Just because of that name.
Science Division, the World Para-Health Organization, and the Universalist Order of the Airseer. Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but don't worry, there won't be a quiz later. These groups and many more unite under the Global Occult Coalition's five-fold mission. Understanding these 5 missions is vital to understanding why the GOC works in the way it does.
Like, From what I get from the Global Occult Coalition, is just like an organization that has a lot of independent people, that like contractors that they control and dispatch and work quote unquote together, ultimately responding to the top people who respond to the United Nations. I'm like, uh-huh.
And why it differs from the Foundation. Mission 1, Survival. This is the primary directive of the GOC, ensuring the survival of humanity in the face of parathreats. Mission 2, Concealment. Much like the Foundation, the GOC seeks to conceal knowledge of parathreats from the public that could cause mass panic or loss of life. Mission 3, Protection. In an interesting departure from the somewhat colder Foundation perspective, the GOC also prizes the safety of individual humans, including its own personnel. Mission 4, Destruction. This mission is perhaps the biggest difference between the GOC and the Foundation.
It really
and is often
is
what defines them in the public eye. The GOC considers the very existence of parathreats to be a danger to the survival of humanity, so no risks are taken to ensure their survival. And finally,
that seems rather narrow-minded, honestly. Like, not understanding something doesn't necessarily make it dangerous. Like, I don't know. The scientist side of me is like, I don't agree with that take.
Mission 5, Education. The GOC seeks to expand their knowledge base in regards to the parathreats they face across the globe.
So
Clearly,
kill first,
the Global
understand
Occult Coalition
after.
knows
Got
where
it.
they stand. Many have positioned the GOC as villains to the Foundation's more level-headed approach. But arguments could also be made in the GOC's favor when it comes to killing off rather than studying anomalies. The number of deaths caused in containment breaches of parathreats that could have been executed immediately after being captured is one persuasive argument, as is the continued potential threat of parathreats currently sitting in containment. And while the GOC has been called inhumane for its desire to murder parathreats, ask any member of D-Class personnel whether the SCP Foundation is a more ethical organization in comparison. While the
Ask any D-Class, oh boy. But that would be like asking cockroaches if they liked being stomped and eradicated by us. Still. Like, I understand the perspective, right? The both stances, but I think I align more with the Foundation on this one. Simply because of the fact that if you don't understand something, how can you truly know whether or not you actually did destroy it, or whether or not it's not going to reappear, or if it's a singular event? And not everything is bad just because it's unknown. It's pretty human to fear what you don't know or understand. All the more reason why I'm not human, I guess.
Foundation are generally far more considerate with anomalies than the GOC. Their attitude towards their human cannon fodder is just as cold. Of course, we're not saying either organization is right or wrong in this instance. More that it's a nuanced issue that's difficult to look at in terms of morality.
Yeah, it really
Later,
depends.
We'll take a look at two of the most famous case studies to see how the GOC's methodology plays out on the field.
It really depends on your own morality and where you stand on this. That's why I said, like, I personally stand more on the Foundation side of things, because I would prefer to learn and understand things rather than just kill it off. However, there are cases where I feel like just killing something off outweighs the value of, you know, letting it be.
But first, let's take a look at how the actual organization is structured. At the top of the tower is the Council of the 108. Much like the United Nations, this council is made up of representatives from each of the 108 member organizations of the GOC.
Oh,
Below
great.
that is the High
Diplomacy.
Command, headed by the mysterious Undersecretary General D.C. Alfine, believed to be a woman who is living somewhere in Europe, as well as the Nexus. The Nexus directs a network of command central hubs to coordinate and support local operations. Below that, the GOC is separated into three prongs: the Physics Division, the Psyche Division, and the Ptolemy Division. The Physics Division is the action arm of the GOC, made up of assessment teams and strike teams. It's their job to investigate and capture or neutralize parathreats. The Psyche Division is the diplomatic sector of the GOC and consists of special observers and ambassadors. These personnel maintain relationships between paranormal groups and keeps things smooth between normal humanity and the occult.
So they're basically the press. they're ambassadors in the press. I see. Like when it comes to these groups, right? Like it sounds like there's so much bureaucracy behind it as well.
The Ptolemy Division is known as the support arm and is home to the quartermasters and the research and development department. This division helps the other two divisions do their work, from managing logistics and resource distribution to developing state-of-the-art weapons and equipment for GOC personnel.
The researchers and IT.
Before we move on to two of the GOC's greatest hits. It's important to know that the GOC classifies anomalies different to how the SCP Foundation does. Rather than SCPs, the GOC refers to them as TEs, or threat entities.
TE? TE?
While the GOC employs a frankly baffling number of code words for various groups, ideas, or concepts that we don't have the time to get into right now, we can tell you the main types of TEs. There are KTEs, or known threat entities, UTE, or unknown threat entities, PTEs, potential threat entities, and LTEs, or liquidated threat entities, which are threat entities they have confirmed to be destroyed. Now you should have a pretty good idea of who the Global Occult Coalition is, their member organizations, their mission statements, their major ideological differences from the SCP Foundation. But it's a common truism that actions speak louder than words. So we need to talk about two of the most infamous incidents in the organization's history. First, there's the chair. Known as KTE 0937 Velveteen, or 6th Chair to the Global Occult Coalition, and SCP-1609 to the SCP Foundation. This is an incident that the Foundation and Foundation supporters love to cite when criticizing the GOC. From their telling, 1609 was an innocent, if a little spooky-looking chair with a harmless, anomalous property. It teleports behind people who want to sit down. In spite of how helpful and benign this is, the Global Occult Coalition did what they always do, and decided to neutralize it by forcing it into a wood chipper. However, this didn't actually kill the chair. It merely transformed it into a collection of sentient wood chips with an understandable chip on its shoulder. Now, when angered, typically by mentions of things related to the GOC or by the sound of motors running, these chips teleport into people's lungs, causing fatal organ damage. Surely this shows that the GOC are a bunch of haphazard idiots. They transformed a harmless anomaly into a killer. Well, it's not that simple.
It's not that simple, but at the same time, what exactly was the threat of the chair to humanity? Like, what was the threat?
According to their own telling of the incident with the 6th chair, it was exactly that. Just the 6th and a number of other parathreats being destroyed because of their relation to a dangerous parathreat creator known as the Carpenter. All 5 other items were successfully incinerated. The chair was only unsuccessfully neutralized with the wood chipper due to a machine error with the incinerator. In other words,
So in other words, they're also incompetent on top of it.
Often painted as a prime example of GOC brashness and incompetence could just as easily have been a total accident that occurred during an otherwise logical action.
No! Quite literally no! It's like, you're dealing with an anomaly and you had a guaranteed successful way to eliminate something. And you chose, because of a faulty error, instead of waiting with something that isn't even harmful, you decided to proceed with a different plan that, because you don't want to have the knowledge anyway, to do something different. Like, no, that's not an accident. That's literally just being incompetent. You're even incompetent at destroying, somehow. My God.
No different from the fatalities that often occur during an SCP Foundation containment breach.
What do you mean it's no different?
SCP-1522, known to the GOC as LTE-4201 Velveteen, or the Ghost Ships. The Foundation often cites this as being another textbook example of the GOC taking things too far and murdering a completely innocent anomaly minding its own business. This anomaly was two apparently sapient boats in the middle of the ocean that showed compassion for one another, giving them the reputation of being literal love boats. The GOC apparently objected to this union and blew one of the boats to Kingdom Come.
Why? Why would you blow only one of the boats? Again, who was the spurred lover who had an issue with two poor boats loving each other? Bruh.
Leaving the other to self-terminate in grief. How can the GOC possibly come out as anything but monsters in this scenario, harming two wholesome anomalies that would never hurt a fly? Well, don't be so sure about that. From the GOC report, we can first see that the boats were already encroaching into human territory, leading to reports of ghost ships from fishermen trawling in that area. And
oh, the boats were encroaching on human territory. Yes, because they were in the ocean. God forbid they boat around.
while the GOC did admittedly fire the first shot, it cannot be denied that the surviving ship's retaliation was equally, if not more violent than the initial attack.
You don't say! You're like, it cannot be denied that if I punch you, that you might punch me harder. Yeah. Like, you know that usually an eye for an eye tends to be more of a exaggeration because like the second blow is probably gonna hurt more because you freaking hurt. You spurred, like you killed his lover, the boat's lover in front of its eyes. And you were like, oh, well, why are you so angry? Please calm down. That's so dumb. So absolutely dumb.
Upon attacking the first of the two ships, the second willfully collided with the GOC vessel, manned by the strike team Ocean Thunder, at hypersonic speeds. This killed the entire GOC team present. While it's easy to say that this attack was in self-defense, it also shows that the boats always had devastating combat potential if provoked.
Yeah. So do most people. You don't see me going and killing humanity because they're capable of murder. Excuse you? So does like any chemical reaction between different substances that are simply available to anyone. What kind of logic? What kind of logic was that? Like, yes, there are things that have devastating combat potential, including entire nations. You don't just nuke them, do you? One of the boats that was destroyed had a little boat inside of it. Oh, man. Still makes it sadder.
If the parathreat had performed this same act on a larger Navy ship, or on a cruise ship or any kind of commercial vessel, hundreds of lives would be lost. Doesn't seem so innocent now, does it?
No,
What
still
conclusion
seems
can we draw
innocent.
from all this? Is the global occult coalition a gaggle of bloodthirsty idiots looking to kill off anomalies for the sake of it?
Yes.
No. Are they a morally perfect organization, protecting human survival and the quality of human life from a foundation that couldn't care less?
No.
The answer is no here too. While the SCP Foundation and the GOC have been known to squabble, and have caused even more damage to one another in alternate realities, they're ultimately two sides of the same coin.
No,
the two
they're
have
not.
even been known to reluctantly collaborate when necessary.
Well,
Perhaps
duh.
they don't always see eye to eye, especially on some of the smaller
called
and more
diplomacy.
contentious anomalies. But in a world where cosmic nightmares are lurking just behind the fabric of our reality, and some are preparing to strike, it feels comforting to have both of them at the ready. Now go
It feels comforting to have both of them at the ready. I'm not so sure about that, man, because like one of them seems to cause more harm to humanity, at least from the two examples provided. Like, you literally turned two SCPs that were peaceful into killers. How is that comforting? They're probably gonna go, like, while investigating a huge threat, they're gonna accidentally step on a fly that's anomalous, that the other one goes like, don't kill it, and they're like, why not? And murder everyone in the process somehow.
Go check out our playlist on the epic saga of SCP-5000, The Suit, and
God damn it. Well, so far from this video on the Global Occult Coalition, there are a bunch of morons. I'm like, no, no. Mm-mm. Jesus.